All right, let's talk about what is your ego and why is it there? Otherwise known as who is your daddy and what does he do? If you don't know Kindergarten Cop, you're not going to get that reference. Showing your age. Anyway, okay. When people think of the concept of an ego, they usually think of someone who's got a big ego. Someone like me. Someone who is just larger than life that wants to be on a stage rocking a crowd, or an actor who's like, blah, like big ego. I'm better than everyone else. And to a degree, it's not untrue, but that's not really the ego. It's definitely not the ego that we're going to be talking about, okay? I'm going to just freestyle this. I keep thinking about what I'm going to say, and instead I'm just going to freestyle it, okay? Why is your ego there, okay? And what is it exactly? Your ego is a little voice in your head. Little voice that talks to you. Every time you hear a voice that says, don't do that, you failed last time, you'll just fuck it up again. That's your ego, okay? At the same time, your ego can be trained differently. It is a separate entity to you. And if you could read psychological studies on this stuff, but it's if we get the summary version, whenever you hear a voice in your head that's like, come on, man, go for it. Come on, go and ask that girl for a number. You can do it, man. Like when you start to psych yourself into like, come on, I can do this. I can do this. That's your ego talking. And sometimes, for example, in the idea of like, go and achieve a goal, like go and ask that girl for a number. That's a positive outcome and we're going to be going deep. We're going to be going to the core beliefs and understanding of what everything is. So the ego, it exists for one reason, and that is to protect you. There are only two things in life that we are instinctively there's more, but there's two main things that we're instinctively primed to do. It's at a DNA level. Pretty much no one is immune to this, right? The first one is to want protection. Protection from the elements, protection from the world around them. They want to feel protected. And the other one is to procreate, which is why when you try to approach someone from the opposite sex or whatever, the point is that when you're trying to do something that is in line with procreating, your ego may change into a cheerleader where it's like, come on, man, you can do it. Come on, it's okay. Because it's trying to protect you by continuing the bloodline. Okay, I know this is a little bit weird for a songwriting course, but it all comes together in the end. Trust me, it's like a Norman Rockwell painting. You don't know who Norman Rockwell is? Don't worry, we'll get to that in the ChatGPT. Oh, that's right, there's a guide to ChatGPT. This is a very comprehensive masterclass, okay? The point of your ego is to protect you. And it is also to protect you from the world, from outside threats and elements, okay? And in order to articulate this correctly, we are going to talk about herd mentality. What is herd mentality? As you can see, it can get a little bit crazy, okay? So, I did a recording of this just a second ago and I forgot to switch back to the other camera, so I hope. Anyway, herd mentality is this. Everyone has different masks that they wear in different social circles. All right, we're going to talk about it in a way that relates to you. When you go to church, if you go to church, you don't act the same way that you do when you go to the club. And when you're at the club, you don't act the same way that you do when you're at work. And if you're at a bar with the boys having a beer watching the football, you don't talk the same way that you do with your wife. Everyone has different masks that they wear. And there is a reason for this. The reason is because if you did, you would be rejected. If you went to church and were like, yo, man, you gotta hear this story about last night. I met this crazy bitch. You would be kicked out immediately. So you choose instinctively not to act that way because you know you'll get kicked out. And the same way that if you go to the club and they're like, yo, we're going to have a party, let's do this. And you walk in like, guys, hold on. Jesus, we thank you for this amazing evening and the beautiful weather that you brought us out on the street in the club. They'd be like, dude, fuck off. You're killing the buzz. Cut that shit out. You would be rejected. So you choose not to do this. You choose to be like, yeah, man, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready for some drinks. You put on the mask, man. You play the part. You access that part of your identity because you want to be a part of that herd. Now, if you flip it to the other side of the equation and you say, well, why would they reject me? Like if they're my friends or whatever, it'd be like, well, they're not rejecting you necessarily entirely as a whole person, but they're rejecting you from that experience. Why? Because you're a threat. What do you mean you're a threat? Well, if you go to church guaranteed, and you start to talk about the party last night and the trouble you got into, people are going to say, excuse me, you need to take that outside or get your act together and be in church. And the reason is because you are a threat to their entire belief system. If you came in and were talking about sin in front of all the kids, they're going to go, excuse me, you are a threat to my immediate family and my belief system. Get the fuck out of here. You are a threat. You're going to start indoctrinating and introducing all of these concepts that could hurt myself, my family, my belief system, and then maybe take them away, and they will become prey to your sinful existence. When you go all the way down to the deepest layers, that's where it goes to. And the same way, if you go to the club and you're like, yo, thank you, Jesus, for this great night, they're going to say, dude, if you're going to act like that all night, just go home, because you're a threat to their experience. They don't want their buzz killed. They want to be cool. They want to have a good time. They don't want to deal with that right now. So you are threatening their experience. So you will be rejected, which is why you wear the mask, because you fear rejection. Now, what's the reason for all this? The reason for this is because when you are in a herd, this happens. When you are in a herd, you are protected. Herds sleep together, eat together, fight together, thrive together, survive together. You have a higher likelihood of survival when you are a member of a pack or a herd. Okay? But there are rules to being in the herd. And if you do not adhere to those rules, then you will be ostracized. You will be rejected. And the reason that we fear this is not just, I'll get lonely. Instinctively, at the deepest core level, and it's been coded in all of us for tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, the reason that you do not want to be rejected from your pack is because when you are alone, you are at the mercy of the world around you. You are at the mercy of threat. You are prey. And you can very easily die a swift death, whether it be in reality, in emotional headspace, in your spiritual nature. You are threatened. Everything is safer in a community. Everything makes sense in a community. We are built to live in a community. We are built to connect to one another. Okay? We are built to connect to one another. So what is the ego? It is a survival tool. The voice in your head that says, don't do that thing, man. You're just going to get rejected. Don't do that thing, man. You'll look like an idiot and get rejected. You know, maybe if you're not confident, you say, hey, go up and talk to that girl, or go up and talk to that group of guys and girls because you want to hang out and be part of a pack. Oh, you know, you might screw it up and be rejected. There might be a part of you where your ego turns into a cheerleader. Like, man, you go and talk to that pack over there. Go and talk to those guys or girls, because like you need to find some people to chill with and hang out with. Because the alternative is this. What happens without a herd? This is the human version now. The human version, if you don't have people around you, is this. And like it or not, when you are rejected, it hits you at the deepest level. It hits your inner child. It hits your emotional core. Because the greatest fear that people have, instinctively encoded in them from birth, there's a fear of loud noises, because that instinctively is like, well, there's a threat coming. The moment there's a loud noise, you better believe, you better start running. Your adrenaline, that's why your adrenaline spikes. You immediately, everything kicks into gear when you hear a really loud noise. That's why you do this. It's to protect this part of your neck against the predator, because that's where the blood flows to the brain, right? They're instinctive things that happen. What happens without a herd? You are left defenseless, like a child, like a baby without a mother. So when you crave acceptance, you are craving the most instinctive thing that there is, which is to be protected. Your initial cause, your initial reason for existing is you were born, and the person who gave birth to you is supposed to take care of you to a degree. Which is why most songwriters and artists and creatives come from broken homes. They come from a place where they were abandoned. They come from a place where there was not this great level of acceptance. And it leads into the whole nature of why they continue to torture themselves, because that's their habit. It's what they've known. That's why they destroy relationships. That's why they destroy themselves, right? And that's one of the reasons that we're talking about it. Now, going back to why music, acceptance. If you play a song for someone and then you get to the end of the song and they go, it doesn't really matter what type of song it is. They're going to look like this. Why music? I love that song, which translates to I love you, right? And if you play, and it's the same reason that you are probably scared at times of showing new music to people. Because when you first let it out of the gate, it's like stripping off all your clothes and saying, judge me. And then if they don't like it, this is your stupid face. No, I don't really like that song. And you feel it at your deepest part. I don't like you is how it translates sometimes. Right? Now, I might be hitting a couple of trigger points for you. That's good. That means you're in the right place. If it's not hitting any trigger points for you, it means one of two things. You're not really a songwriter, or you're actually more evolved and you already know this. And if that's the case, then that's great. Keep watching. There's going to be heaps of great stuff for you too. Keep watching. There is a bunch of amazing stuff that's about to come up in the next part of this video. I had to cut this lesson in half because I want to keep the lessons to around 10 minutes for YouTube. In the masterclass, it's just the full lesson. So go to watch the second half where I wrap this up. It's fantastic. Thank you for watching this far. I'll see you over there.